Years in the long dead days, marauding hosts of Indians came from far Siberian coasts, and drove the peaceful Aztecs from their grounds, despoiled their homes, but left their telltale mounds. So is the white man with the Indians done. Now with their backs against the setting sun, the remnants of a dying nation stand and view the lost domain, once their beloved land. Upon the vast Atlantic's leagues of shore the happy red man's tent is seen no more, and from the deep blue lakes which mirror heaven his bounding bark canoe was long since driven. The mighty woods, those temples where his God spoke to his soul, are leveled to the sod, and in their place tall church spires point above, while priests proclaim the law of Christ, the King of love. The avaricious and encroaching rail seized the wide fields which knew the Indians' trail back to the reservations in the west. The native owners of the land were pressed, and selfish cities, harbingers of want, shut from their vision each accustomed haunt. Yet hungry progress, never satisfied, gazed on the western plains, and gazing, longed and sighed. Evars some strange bullock in a pasture field compels the herds to fear him, and to yield the juicy grass plots and the cooling shade until, despite their greater strength, afraid, they huddle in some corner spot and cower before the monarch's all-controlling power. So has the white man driven from its place by his aggressive greed. Colombia's native race viet when the bull pursues the herds at bay, incensed they turn, and dare dispute his sway. And so the Indians turned, when men forgot their sacred word, and trespassed on the spot, the lonely little spot of all their lands, the reservation of the peaceful bands. But lust for gold all conscience kills in man, gold in the Black Hills, gold. The cry arose and ran from lip to lip, as flames from tree to tree leap till the forest is one fiery sea, and through the country surged that hot unrest which thirst for riches wakens in the breast. In mighty throngs the fortune hunters came, despoiled the red man's lands and slew his game, broke solemn treaties and defied the law, and all these ruthless acts the nation knew and saw. Man is the only animal that kills just for the wanton love of slaughter, spills the blood of lesser things to see it flow, lures like a friend, to murder like a foe the trusting burdened beast, and, coward-like, deals covert blows he dare not boldly strike. The brutes have finer souls, and only slay when torn by hunger's pangs, or when to fear a prey. The pale-faced hunter, insolent and bold, pursued the bison while he sought for gold. And on the hungry red man's own domains he left the rotting and unused remains to foul with sickening stench each passing wind and rouse the demon in the savage mind. Save in the heart where virtues dominate, injustice always breeds its natural offspring. Ix the chieftain of the Sioux, great Sitting Bull, mused o'er their wrongs, and felt his heart swell full of bitter vengeance. Torn with hate's unrest he called a council and his braves addressed. From fair Wisconsin's shimmering lakes of blue long years ago the white man drove the Sioux, made bold by conquest, and inflamed by greed. He still pursues our tribes, and still our ranks recedes. Fair are the white chief's promises and words, but dark his deeds. Who robs us of our herds? He talks of treaties, asks the right to buy, then takes by force, not waiting our reply. He grants us lands for pastures and abodes to devastate them by his iron roads. But now from happy spirit lands, a friend draws near the hunted Sioux, to strengthen and defend. 11 While walking in the fields I saw a star. Unconsciously I followed it afar. It led me onto valleys filled with light, where danced our noble chieftains slain in fight. Black Kettle, first of all that host I knew, he whom the strong-armed Custer foully slew. And then a spirit took me by the hand, the great Messiah King who comes to free the land. 12 suns were his eyes, a speaking tear his voice, whose rainbow sounds made listening hearts rejoice. And thus he spake, the red man's hour draws near when all his lost domains shall reappear. The elk, the deer, the bounding antelope, shall here return to grace each grassy slope. He waved his hand above the fields, and low down through the valleys came a herd of buffalo. 13 The wondrous vision vanished, but I knew that Sitting Bull must make the promise true. Great spirits plan what mortal man achieves. The hand works magic when the heart believes. Arouse, ye braves, let not the foe advance. Arm for the battle and begin the dance, the sacred dance in honor of our slain, who will return to earth ere many moons shall wane. Zive the Sitting Bull, the chief of wily knaves, worked on the superstitions of his braves, mixed truth with lies, and stirred to mad unrest the warlike instinct in each savage breast. A curious product of unhappy times, the natural offspring of unnumbered crimes, he used low cunning and dramatic arts to startle and surprise those crude untutored hearts. XV Out from the lodges pour a motley throng, slow measures chanting of a dirge-like song. In one great circle dizzily they swing, A squaw and chief alternate in the ring, coarse raven locks stream over robes of white. Their deep-set orbs emit a lurid light, and as through pine trees moan the wind's refrains, so swells and dies away. The ghostly graveyard strains of like worded wine is music to the ear, and long indulged makes mad the hearts that hear. The dancers, drunken with the monotone of oft-repeated notes, now shriek and groan and pierce their ruddy flesh with sharpened spears, still more excited when the blood appears. With warlike yells, high in the air they bound, then in a death-like trance fall prostrate on the grounds of ye. They wake to tell weird stories of the dead, while fresh performers to the ring are led. The sacred nature of the dance is lost, war is their cry, red war, at any cost. Insane for blood they wait for no command, but plunge marauding through the frightened land, their demon hearts on devil's pleasures bent. For each new foe surprised, new torturing deaths invent. Zviestek to the earth one helpless creature lies, flames at his feet and splinters in his eyes. Another groans with coals upon his breast, while round the pyre the Indians dance and jest. A crying child is brained upon a tree, the swooning mother saved from death, to be the slave and plaything of a filthy knave, whose sins would startle hell, whose clay defile a grave's. Their cause was right, their methods all were wrong. Pity and censure both to them belong. Their woes were many, but their crimes were more. The soulless Satan holds not in his store such awful tortures as the Indian's wrath keeps for the hapless victim in his path. And if the last lone remnants of that race were by the white man swept from off the earth's fair face, XX were every red man slaughtered in a day, still would that sacrifice but poorly pay for one insulted woman. Captive's woes again. Great Custer in his strength arose, more daring, more intrepid than of old. The passing years had touched and turned to gold the ever-widening aureole of fame that shone upon his brow, and glorified his name. Wise men make laws, then turn their eyes away, while fools and knaves ignore them day by day, and unmolested, fools and knaves at length induce long wars which sap a country's strength. The sloth of leaders, ruling but in name, has dragged full many a nation down to shame. A word unspoken by the rightful lips has dyed the land with blood, and blocked the sea with ships. Shy the word withheld, when Indians asked for aid, came when the red man started on his raid. What justice with a gesture might have done was left for noisy war with bellowing gun. And who save Custer and his gallant men could calm the tempest into peace again? What other hero in the land could hope with Sitting Bull, the fierce and lawless one, to cope? What other warrior skilled enough to dare surprise that human tiger in his lair? Sure of his strength, unconscious of his fame, out from the quiet of the camp he came, and stately as Diana at his side Elizabeth, his wife and alway bride, and Margaret, his sister, rode apace. Love's clinging arms he left to meet death's cold embrace. As the bright column wound along its course, the smiling leader turned upon his horse to gaze with pride on that superb command. 1,200 men, the picked of all the land, inured to hardship and made strong by strife. Their lithe-limbed bodies breathed of outdoor life, while on their faces, resolute and brave, hope stamped its shining seal. Although their thoughts were graves, the sad-eyed women halted in the dawn, and waved farewell to dear ones riding on. The modest mist picked up her robes and ran before the sun god's swift pursuing von, and suddenly there burst on startled eyes the sight of soldiers, marching in the skies. That phantom host, a phantom Custer led, mirage of dire portent, forecasting days ahead. Skvithe soldiers' children, flaunting mimic flags, played by the roadside, striding sticks for nags. Their mothers wept, indifferent to the crowd who saw their tears and heard them sob aloud. Old Indian men and squaws crooned forth rhymes sung by their tribes from immemorial time, and over all the drum's incessant beat mixed with the scouts' weird rune, and tramp of myriad feet. For so flawless was the union of each part, the mighty column, moved as by one heart, pulsed through the air, like some sad song well sung, which gives delight, although the soul is wrung farther and fainter to the sight and sound. The beautiful embodied poem wound, till like a ribbon, stretched across the land, seemed the long narrow line of that receding band. The lot of those who in the silence wait is harder than the fighting soldier's fate. Back to the lonely post 2 women passed, with unaccustomed sorrow overcast, too sad for sighs, too desolate for tears. The dark forebodings of long widowed years in preparation for the awful blow hung on the door of hope, the sable badge of woe's 6 unhappy muse. For thee no song remains, save the sad misarah of the plains. Yet though defeat, not triumph, ends the tale, great victors sometimes are the souls that fail. All glory lies not in the goals we reach, but in the lessons which our actions teach. And he who, conquered, to the end believes in God and in himself, Though vanquished, still achieves Custer. Grand as rash was that last fatal raid, the little group of daring heroes made 202 score intrepid men rode out to war, not one came back again. Like fiends incarnate from the depths of hell, 5,000 Femen rose with deafening yell, and swept that veil as with a simoon's breath, but like the gods of old, each martyr met his death as Custer. Like gods they battled and like gods they died. Hour following hour that little band defied the hordes of red men swarming o'er the plain, till scarce a score stood upright mid the slain. Then in the lull of battle, creeping near, a scout breathed low in Custer's listening ear, death lies before, dear life remains behind. Mount thy sure-footed steed, and hasten with the wind. A second's silence. Custer dropped his head, his lips slow moving as when prayers are said. 2 words he breathed, God and Elizabeth, then shook his long locks in the face of death, and with a final gesture turned away to join that fated few who stood at bay. Deeds like that the Christ in man reveal. Let fame descend her throne at Custer's shrine to kneel. Too late to rescue, but in time to weep, his tardy comrades came. As if asleep he lay, so fair, that even hellish hate withheld its hand and dared not mutilate. By fiends who knew not honor, honored still, he smiled and slept on that far western hill. Cast down thy lyre, O Muse. Thy song is done, let tears complete the tale of him who failed, yet won.